All right, welcome. I'm showing 5:30. Thank you all for being here. I'll call this regular board meeting to order. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, and I will ask you to join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will look for approval of the agenda. Robin.
I move approval of the agenda with the HR addendum.
I second.
Okay, moved by Robin, seconded by Namal. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We will move on this evening to recognition of the audience. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board state their name and home school district for the record. Speakers must refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee or student by name. Vulgar or profane language will not be tolerated. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond to or debate issues in this forum. This evening, did we say 18, Emery? 18 people have signed up to address the board. Each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Upon conclusion of the allotted time, a chime will sound and the speaker is asked to conclude. If necessary, a final chime will sound 15 seconds later, signifying the end of the speaker's time at the podium. I will now call our first speaker to the podium, which is Devin Tatmanski.
Tracy, you said my name right for like the last, I don't know how many meetings. What's going on today? It's a good thing you reined us into 3 minutes, especially with all the people here. I'd like to first address the recently elected members of the school board. I asked you all while we were running for school board to stay apolitical. Twice now, within the first year, you have decided not to do so. As many of you had decided to remind me, this was an apolitical position. Clearly, that is not the case. Your politics are on full display. I'm going to talk now about the exact words that Dr. Gandhi used, paraphrasing. We're going to do what's right for the kids. When? It's been a long time since this board actually talked about the kids. We saw last meeting, new math metrics were still at 40%. New reading metrics were at 57%. You have parents coming almost every meeting talking about the violence in the schools. When? When are you going to actually address those things? Something else that was stated. If we fear there will be danger to the student, we will not out that student. Now, to say such a thing is ridiculous considering that if the district fears there is danger to the student in the home, you have a duty to report anyway to Child Protective Services. So why do you want the secrecy? Memo 117, feels like I'm all over the place. Seth, I don't think you understood the assignment. It said you had to actually explain your reasoning for your yes/no answer. Everybody else did. Tracy, I don't think it's appropriate to say that you want a liaison from the board to be part of an advocacy group to the Department of Health. Shouldn't it be the district takes its orders from the Department of Health, not you have a liaison on an advisory board to the Department of Health? It seems very backwards for this particular organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Our next speaker this evening is Wendy White.
Good evening, I'm Wendy from HMR. I'm here tonight to kind of address more of what happened in the previous meeting as well. I'm concerned as a parent. I have a beautiful 9-year-old autistic girl. She's literally the light of my life and one of the sweetest kids. Everybody's complimented me that she's very well behaved and that she is very compassionate. She'll be the first to hug your kid if like they're crying, they had a bad day. Just genuinely open, big heart. That's something that, you know, we've always stood by with her and taught her to be kind and loving to everyone, no matter who they are. Like, we're all just human beings. We're all the same on the inside. We're just blood and bone. We're all just trying to live our lives. I don't think it should matter. Treating others how you want to be treated should be more of what we should be teaching our kids. Any good parent wants to hear from their kid. You should want your kid to come to you and tell you things, whether it's something you think you want to hear or not. And yeah, I do think that question comes up. If you think that there's going to be abuse in the home because of it, then maybe we should be calling protective services because that's scary. I don't think we should be teaching deceit and disrespect of the law. It's sending the wrong message to our kids. That part really bothers me. I think we should be encouraging parents and making it more of a stronger home that we're not forgetting about keeping the best interest of our kids and our students. Nobody should be condoning this behavior. I think everybody should be ashamed. I'm not against anybody. I just think we should be keeping the parents in the loop, and we shouldn't be lying to our kids saying that, you know, they can't talk to their parents. I think everybody should be telling their kids that they can talk to their parents. I don't know any good parent who doesn't want to hear from their kid. I think we should be focusing on bullying that's going on within the schools. My kid gets bullied and she has autism. She doesn't understand what's going on. All she knows is there's mean kids. I know that my teacher has been trying to help with that for my student, but there's things that they don't see. And she says it happens primarily at recess. I just want to make sure that we're not sending the wrong message. Parents need to be encouraged to parent their children, and teachers need to be just taught to teach their kids. We need to be focusing on the academics and making sure that they're not being bullied. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Our next speaker this evening is Lisa Esping.
Lisa Esping, Northside. At the last board meeting, it was stated that it's the district job to protect the students. If you see direct harm to the students, you're going to do what's right. I agree with you. It is your job to protect the students, all students. And I'm here again to remind you of so many more students that are not being protected. We won't get to 0 incidents, I know that, but we must start an active conversation about behaviors, changing policies, and increased communication. I am here as an advocate for my children and for all the children who have to sit in the classrooms that they may not be safe both physically and mentally. There has been so much talk about which bathrooms for students, but did you know there are students that are too afraid to go into the hallways that they can't even make it to the bathroom? Did you know that there's a middle school students that avoid using the bathroom all day long? Can you also protect the students afraid to go to the bathroom because of physical assaults? Can you also protect the students afraid to go to the restroom due to being calling the B word in the hallway? Can you also protect the student who has to hold it due to situations in the hallways and they cannot go to the restroom, hoping to make it in time? Can you also protect the students who have to call home partway through the day because they do not feel safe with what is going on in their classroom? Can you also protect the classroom of students who witness their teacher getting punched in the face? Can you also protect the 150 students who have to listen to another student swearing for multiple minutes in the hallways? Can you also protect the students that have to listen to windows being broken and seeing students run through the lunchroom screaming obscenities? Can you also protect the students that think this is now normal behavior? Can you also protect all students who now have had to witness traumatic behavior from other students for multiple years and now no longer want to go to school? These behaviors are being normalized as it seems they're just being ignored. Just ignoring it is not fighting for the rest of the students who now do not want to go to school or are now having anxiety and other mental health issues due to the culture of our schools. I've emailed in prior years. I emailed on March 27th. I spoke at the last school board meeting on May 9th, and I emailed again on May 10th as a follow-up, and still my communication has been ignored. I am here again to plead with you to take this out of control behavior seriously and join us parents in a conversation to make the changes necessary in our district before we lose more students, teachers, paras, and substitutes. I look forward to hearing from you and being part of the conversation to improve the behaviors in our district.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next speaker this evening is Paul Mohor.
Good evening. My name is Paul Moore. I live in the area, a town where my daughter went to Horseman. I'm going to skip a bunch because 3 minutes seems to go awfully fast. In your speech, you talked about protecting the children. You talked about issues is how we came to, talking about issues is how we better come to understand the world around us. However, you didn't talk about facilitating productive discussions with parents. You talked about hiding information from us. How do you know any parent will react unless you talk to them? Why do you assume to know more about our kids than we do? At best, one of your teachers may see our child 1 to 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 3 to 4 years, tops. These children live with us for the other 2/3 of their day when they're not in school. We have done this every day since they've been born. And you automatically think to know more about our children than we do. One of your statistics says that there's a feeling that parents will reject ideas our children come up with, that it might make them feel bad. I remind you that we are parents. We're not the children's best friends. I love my children. They're still growing and learning about the world. But if I have one of them ask me if I can smoke, I say no. They might say, well, all my friends are doing it. Guess what? I don't care what their friends think. Those other children are learning about maturity too. You think that might fall into the category of parents will reject my ideas? That's what it means to be a parent. I've been called the mean parent. I asked my child why. She said, I'm the mean parent because you make me do chores like dishes and laundry. I told my kid, I can live with that. Now my oldest, who's graduated, tells me she's the only person in her office that works hard. I asked her if she thought it was extraordinarily hard, if she was putting in. She told me no, she just thought the other people were being lazy. I told her she was doing a good job and her boss would notice. Keep it up. That's what it means to be a parent. The new state law goes into effect on August 1st of 23. You say you see a confliction between the state law and the federal law. You say your decisions are not against parents, but for the kids. The way I see it, the way I heard it, was that you want to protect kids from their parents. Instead of encouraging everyone to talk more, you are suppressing talk. Not only do you think you know my kids better than I do, you think you know every kid better than every parent does by saying you will not deal with the parents. Board members, people here, people who may be watching on video, do you have kids? Won't you be shocked to discover when this happens to one of your kids? I think we all want to love our kids and we don't want them to come to harm. You are essentially telling parents they are not needed. I think teachers want to teach. Maybe they don't want to be responsible for parenting, other than their own kids. Why don't we bypass parental involvement altogether and simply dump more work on overworked teachers?
Paul, that's the second time. I'll invite our next speaker, Noelle Vernoy.
I don't have much to say, except I'm Noelle Vernoy, and I have 2 kids at Roosevelt. And I stand with a lot of the parents that have shared here. And I guess I would just add that my 2 children are my 2 children, not yours, not the district's, not the state's, they're mine. And if information, very important information, is being shared with a teacher or staff member, and you withhold that information from me, the parent, God forbid something happened to my child, a lawsuit will be on your table ASAP, very swift. Thank you.
Thank you, Noelle. Our next speaker is Matt Kozak. Welcome.
Happy birthday, Seth. You're welcome. Okay. My topic here is more procedural about what happened last meeting. So just when you're hearing me talk, take out the politics side of it real quick. It's procedural and how things happened. Dr. Gandhi, I understood exactly what you were trying to get across last week when you stated that you were not going to follow state law in your opinion because it conflicted with federal law. The board, according to the minutes that are that will get approved here, the board went and expressed support. In the packet I hand out EL3, that's one of your policies. Lines 4 and 5, it talks about how the superintendent may not have illegal conditions or they do not establish policy or procedures on line 4 that conflict with federal and state law. According to the board, though, you guys shared support, so turn to page to board superintendent relations 2. Decisions and instructions on individual board members of officers and committees are not binding on the superintendent except in rare instances when the board specifically designated such authority. No action was taken last meeting. Dr. Gandhi told you he was going to be in defiance of your policy unless you guys told him something different, and then you guys just kind of all went around the room and said you're in support, but no action was taken. So right now we're in a situation where Dr. Gandhi's essentially against your policies. You guys have to now make a decision. Are you going to act? In which way are you going to act, or just kind of let it go? And then what is the point of your policies? There's a 3rd page on there, which allows Dr. Gandhi to make a reasonable interpretation of the policy that you guys have, but I don't know, and maybe it is reasonable, but to go against state law. It's really just it's conflicting law, and you as the board have to make a decision on what you want to do. You guys made no action last time, and if we wait till this law goes into effect, there will be a conflict, potentially, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but could put you in legal situations, maybe or maybe not, but at least it'll nullify some of your policies. I also confirmed today too, around 4 o'clock, that no communication has gone out to staff, no presentations have gone out to staff. So you have time still to kind of act on that because nothing's been done yet. No staff has been presented anything about HB 1522. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ron Gaul. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Ron Gaul, and I have a child in Fargo Public Schools. Good on you, Dr. Gandhi. You did the right thing. You took a stand against something that was not only unlawful, but against human rights. We need to take a stand on this epidemic of hate speech and hate crimes against trans kids and trans people in general. And you did that, and stay strong. And you're probably getting a lot of unwanted attention. Many of us who have spoken out on this also get that. I certainly do. And I know at least one other board member has too gotten unwanted attention. But stay strong. You've got a lot of support here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Our next speaker this evening is Ryan Whitman.
Howdy, I'm Ryan Whitman. I still live in the Lewis and Clark, Fargo South area of Fargo. I have come to you in the past to ask you about showing leadership and focusing on the school part of the school board. And I decided at the time that I wasn't going to come and badger you and belittle you or whatever you want to call this at every meeting. I was going to come back beginning of the year and come back at the end of the year and check back and see where the student achievement is at. And I've come back now at this time, obviously, to find that you've not done as I suggested. You've neglected these duties and put your own self-interest in politics ahead of the obvious, clear, and present needs and requirements of every student in Fargo Public Schools that they are entitled to and you are responsible for. If outright disregard for student performance was not enough of an indictment of your performance, most of you, if not all of you, ran on a student-first platform during your campaigns for these positions, which, when faced with the lack of achievement and progress to a satisfactory degree for somebody like me, kind of makes you look like giant hypocrites, in my opinion. Nowhere was this more evident and more prevalent to me when you went on your soapbox last week about the HB law and there was nothing about student achievement, there was nothing about kids reading, writing, mathematics, any of that stuff. And we all talk about how it makes the community better, and that just sounds like platitudes, frankly, to me. That's it.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Cassie Schmidt.
Good evening, Cassie Schmidt, founder of Let Parents Decide That. I would like it put on record in the meeting minutes that the brave mother who spoke at the meeting prior to this and who also spoke again at this meeting to talk about safety concerns in Fargo Public Schools has not received a response from any of the board members, from the superintendent, or from anybody that she reached out to. So I would like that put into the minutes. Dr. Gandhi, you specifically talked about protecting all children, and I think that it is abhorrent that you had a mother up here talking about safety concerns and then you could not even get back to her. When we talk about, as adults, what we should be teaching our children, breaking state laws, probably not really high up on my list as a mother, I guess. I would assume for most of you on the board, that wouldn't be too high up on your priority list either. It wasn't shocking that that was something that came up at the last meeting, but what is actually even more concerning about your efforts to break the law is actually the fact that you are facilitating secret keeping from parents. And that's something that is just parenting 101. You teach your kids that nobody that asks you to keep a secret is safe. Now, this is going the other way. This is an adult saying that they'll keep a child's secret. Whether or not you agree with the politics of the law or what is behind it, I really urge you all to pay attention to what we're setting as a precedent. Whose kids are these? Do they belong to you as a school board? Do they belong to Fargo Public Schools? Or is each child's parent ultimately the decision maker in their family over what is allowed and what is safe for that child? You guys don't know every 11,000 and some odd child. You know, we have almost 12,000 students in Fargo Public Schools, and there is no possible way for each teacher to know every kid as intimately as their parents do. So if you want to hide information from parents regarding, quite frankly, the mental health status of their child, as it relates directly to suicide, Dr. Gandhi, I am speaking directly to you, and you can't even look at me.
Actually, I'm going to call this
As
to
it
order.
relates
Excuse me,
to the
in
child-
GP2E, you cannot call an individual
No,
employee
yes,
by
I
name.
can.
No,
Yes,
you
I
can't.
can, actually.
No, you can't. So your time is
Yep.
done. Thank you for being here, Cassie. You're done. Our next speaker this evening, and I'll remind everyone in the audience, I said it when I read this, you are not allowed to criticize an employee of FPS by name. I will hold the line. Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Cohen.
I'm Christopher Cohen. I live in the Fargo Public School District. I'd like to commend the school board for choosing to disregard North Dakota's horrific new laws that target transgender children. These cruel and dangerous laws prevent transgender children from using appropriate bathrooms, ban the use of the student's preferred gender pronoun, and require students to be outed. These new laws attack the lives of children and use them as political collateral. Allowing such harm in our schools would be a violation of the most fundamental responsibilities of educators and adults. The entire educational system must be founded on respecting, nurturing, and supporting children, every single child. Using a trans student's chosen or affirmed name and pronouns consistently is non-negotiable for establishing a safe learning environment. A 2018 study found that the consistent use of a trans child's affirmed name can reduce suicidal ideation by 29% and reduce suicidal behavior by 56%. Conversely, the consistent misgendering of a student can have a profoundly negative effect on their ability to learn. And as Fargo School Superintendent Gandhi correctly stated, these new state laws violate federal laws as well as needlessly harm children. Title IX is the federal education law that protects students from discrimination based on sex. In June 2020, the Supreme Court ruled in Bostock versus Clayton County, Georgia, that discrimination on the basis of sex inherently includes discrimination based on sexual orientation or transgender status. Numerous courts have also held that under this ruling, transgender students are protected from discrimination under Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution. State legislatures that have passed legislation that would deny basic human rights to the LGBTQ+ community do not represent the democracy we wish to live in. I stand with the school board, our students, their families, and educators who have the right to live authentically. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Our next speaker is Kristen Charbonneau. Welcome.
Kristen Charbonneau. I'm here for two reasons tonight. The first is we need to have parents involved with our children, period. And the school board, employees of the school do not have the authority to make decisions based on my children's health or mental health. And the second one is I'm just curious about a policy. My daughter currently, who's a junior at Fargo South, I am homeschooling her for part of her time, and part of her time is at Fargo South. And she was not allowed to take the ACT at Fargo South this year like all of the other junior students because she's homeschooled. And I'm just wondering, I'm a taxpayer and that doesn't make any sense to me. So I would just like to know what policy that pertains to, how that decision was made, and would really appreciate a response to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Our next speaker is Joe Larson.
My name is Joe Larson, and I live in Moorhead, Minnesota, and I serve as an openly gay pastor, a Lutheran pastor here in Fargo. And I'm here to express my support for trans children and youth in our Fargo public schools. As a pastor, I've worked with several families with transgender children and other members, families that have transgender grandchildren and relatives. I know each of these parents support their transgender child just as much as parents of other children support theirs. They simply want their children to be able to participate in educational and school activities as fully as they can. We know that there are negative effects of school bullying for LGBTQ students. 78% of respondents to the National Transgender Discrimination Survey reported being harassed, 35% physically attacked, and 12% sexually assaulted. I support Superintendent Gandhi and the school board in seeking policies that support the dignity, humanity, and educational needs of all students in our Fargo School District. For me as a pastor and as a Christian, we are called to show compassion to one another. As the prophet Micah once said, "What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God?" Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Brad Schaefer. Welcome.
I'm Brad Schaefer in the Fargo South School District. I'm on the state board for the North Dakota Adult Teen Challenge. I'm also on a local nonprofit board, Redemption Road Ministries, deal with transitional housing for homeless people who come out of prison. And an axiom in the mental health world, which I live in, I've got family that suffer from mental illness, and I know a lot of people that do, is you're only as sick as your secrets. And the man who shall be nameless here is choosing to keep secrets from parents. Tell me what world that makes sense in. Anybody? You guys are parents. Some of you are shaking your head. You agree with this. However, and this is where you guys need to understand what you guys are doing up here. Last time I was up here, one of you guys decided that, what was it? God didn't belong in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, that's something you really should undertake. Okay, go after that. Okay, so you guys voted 7-2 to not say the pledge because one guy was offended by God. We got some priests here, gay priests, guys. You guys believe in God, okay? So you guys, bless your heart. 7-2, you voted, yeah, we agree with that. And a week later, by the time a few people got up here and said a few things, the same dadgum board here voted 8-1. You got 9 of you, I believe. So the other way. So what the heck do you believe? Do you believe in this guy who I shall not name, your guy you hired? It knows best, and you guys are going to vote. What was the? It's got rid of the minutes a while ago. Support. Well, I don't know what that means. Is that 9-0? You support the school keeping secrets from the parents. Is that really what you're going to vote on? I sure hope not. I sure hope not. You guys need to grow a backbone. I mean, this is ridiculous. Get in the news for something positive, okay? Bring your standards up, by God. Have more teachers coming in that you're hiring than are leaving. Hey, that's a novel approach. That's what you guys ought to be doing. So I'm trying not to ramble here, okay? But I looked at your website. You got at least three are up for re-election in 2024. And I'll tell you what, I don't know a lot of these guys back here, and I've got way too much time on my hands running against you guys, but you better consider whether you run again, because the only way it's going to change, somebody gets backbone, is you elect people with backbone, and that'll be more than 16% of Fargo that voted for you guys.
Thank you, Brad. Our next speaker this evening is Kristen Nelson. Welcome, Kristen.
Good evening, Dr. Gandhi, Dr. Newman, and members of the Fargo School Board. My name is Kristen Nelson. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a proud mom of a 10-year-old daughter who loves her South Fargo Elementary School. I am also the founder of an organization called Project Ray. We support queer youth ages 3 to 14 by providing them with community support, advocacy, and engagement. I am here today to offer words of gratitude to Dr. Gandhi, as well as the rest of the board, for courageously supporting all children who attend Fargo Public Schools. When schools treat queer youth differently and/or fail to provide a safe learning environment, students in the school may receive explicit or implicit messages that bullying queer youth may be tolerated. All students benefit from inclusive school policies, supportive staff, and a school experience that is safe. Studies supporting inclusive school climates show a reduction in relational victimization among queer youth by 63%. Straight youth reported a reduction by 30%. Physical victimization went down by 25% for queer youth and 13% for straight youth. Inclusive school policies and procedures make a difference. Students who feel included and safe in their school community do better academically. Fargo Public Schools has taken a huge step towards ensuring a safe learning environment for all students. Our district has shown incredible courage to stand up to bullies who choose not to understand the tragic impact anti-queer legislation can have. Thank you for supporting our youth, and thank you for understanding that all children in Fargo Public Schools deserve to be respected for who they are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Matthew Steiner.
Good evening. I actually came here because I was curious. Been kind of paying attention as an outsider to what was going on in the Fargo Public Schools. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of glad I'm an outsider. I really don't belong here. I'm a father of 6, and very rarely have I had to send them to public school. And I came here, and it really has affirmed that decision. I'm really glad that I didn't. I sent them to private schools. I homeschooled them. I'm not a man of financial means, but we made sacrifices. And this idea that, speaking to the parents, that you're going to come to a Fargo school board meeting and solve these cultural issues, you need to wake up. You want these people to wake up? Maybe you need to wake up, because it isn't going to be solved here. And maybe you just want to say about how these are your kids. Well, then prove it. Take them out. Put them somewhere else. That's what I did.
Thank you, Matthew. Our next speaker this evening is Josh English Titleman. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From the very bottom of my heart, thank you. There are so many people who are going to benefit, and you will never know who they are, their names, but they are going to greatly benefit from your leadership. And I just want to thank you so much. I want to put a face on what it looks like to be a trans child in a school where you are not allowed to see anyone who looks like you, who is like you. You aren't even allowed to learn the language to express who you are. And even the most intimate detail of a human being's life, your name, your identity, your pronouns, are not used. I want to tell you what it was like growing up in East Tennessee, where only 18% of my graduating class went on to anything after high school, where half of my peers didn't even have running water at home, where I had to hide who I am every single day of my life from myself as a child. When you are in a moment of life where you get to learn and grow, I was smothered and stifled, abused, neglected, beaten, starved. I had people who made fun of me, adults who made fun of me, people who found out and threatened me. And I had to leave home at 16 because not all parents are going to be there for their children. And where do you think they learn such bigotry? I'm here today in the most accessible way I can for anyone who is listening or watching to see. My message is that bigotry kills. Bigotry kills. It has a place where it grows. It has a place where it is fostered, nurtured, and totally fertilized. And it kills. And I have at least 6 million reasons to be here. I hope that you will continue to be leaders, because just because something is not legal or is legal does not make it ethical. I will repeat, something being legal does not make it ethical. And from the bottom of my heart, my children, my family, my queer gender self, I get to be here too. I pay taxes. I'm a mom of kids at South High School. That is where my kids are. My name is Jess English Titleman, and my pronouns are they, them, and I'm so glad that I know who I am. Thank you.
Our next, thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Martin Avery. Welcome.
Yes, my name is Martin Avery. I have a 9-year-old student who goes to Clara Barton. It's been kind of a nerve-wracking year looking at everything that's been going on out in Bismarck. Just looking at the safety of children, and that is something that's come up over and over again. And I see this happen so often where it seems that people think a group cannot do two things at once. And I'm very confident that the school has the ability to do that, the ability to respect and have compassion for trans and non-binary children, and to be supportive and loving and compassionate towards them, and to work on behavior issues that are happening. And I actually see those two as combined, because you are going to foster negative behavior if a student doesn't feel accepted, if a student doesn't feel like there is anyone else that is like them, if the student is not allowed to be who they are as a person. The opportunities they have to make connections are drastically reduced, and I believe that is the type of thing that can lead to behavior problems in that way. I don't think that we need to look at either or always. You know, both and is something that we can work with. We can treat all students well. So many students float through school and they fit. You know, they're the round peg going in the round hole, and everything works beautifully for them. If you don't fit that, and you're in a situation where you're made to feel that you don't fit over and over again, it's very difficult for students. And I think we can rise above that. And I think we can be compassionate and loving and caring for all students within our school system. I also want to look at that issue of not following the law. Our nation has a pretty strong history of when there are things that are going on that are unethical, that go against people's human rights, that people stand up and push back against laws that are not just. Just because a law is a law doesn't mean it's a just law and something that we would do well to follow. So I just want to throw my support behind Dr. Gandhi and the difficult work that you're all doing, and just keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you to all of our speakers tonight. Our final speaker this evening will be Karen VanFossen. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Reverend Karen VanFossen. I live here in Fargo, not far from Horace Mann School. I'm a mom and a grandma, and much of what I would like to say has been said already tonight, but it bears saying again, thank you very much for your compassion and concern for trans students and trans human beings, non-binary people, and then essentially all people in our community and in our schools. As has been said this evening many times, any effort to protect the human rights of any group of people advances the human rights of all people. And there are many laws in our history that I will not take us through because they're painful to relive, that were exceedingly unethical and immoral. And it took courage by bodies like this, by movements, by communities, to resist those laws and change those laws for the sake of human beings. I do resonate with some of the pain that parents have expressed this evening, longing to know their children and longing to have that direct communication about who their children are and what matters to their children. My daughter is soon to, she asked me to become her mom when she was 15. She turns 30 this summer, so soon, more and more of her life, I will have been her mom. And from the get-go, it was crucial, especially since she was 15 years old and had been through hell any number of times when I became her mom, that we were honest and that she knew she could tell me anything. And being able to tell me anything protected her life many times. And I would say that while there are parents who don't want the school system to get between them and their children, the school system doesn't have to be between us and our children. We can speak with our children directly. We can let them know that if they are trans or non-binary or LGBTQ or questioning or cis or straight or anything they may be, that we love them and we respect them and we support them and we will be there for them. We can do that directly as parents, but sometimes we don't. And I know that personally as someone who's seen lots of kids go through lots of hell. So I encourage us as parents and grandparents to go ahead and show up for our kids. And when we just can't, thank God, there's a body like this that might. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on this evening. The next section of our agenda is the report section. Up first is the 2022-2023 operational plan. That comes to us in memo 113, and I will look to Dr. Gandhi.
Thank you. So each year administration will present the operational plan in May and then, in August or in the start of the school year, and then we will present an update to the Board of Education in May. So this really is just a piece of that that plan. So in your memo, you have our updates of the operational plan and the action items that were completed this year. I think as most board members know, we are trying to focus more just on intentionality and alignment between our operational plan and the strategic plan that we're doing as an organization. The report that was presented to you and that was posted at the time of the board memo is a conglomerate of rolled up information from several different departments. So since then, the live software that we use just kind of project manage and report out that information. We have updated some tweaks and just some grammatical errors that were found. So that might there might be an updated report with some errors that were just kind of fixed, but there was nothing that was substantive. It was all kind of just typos and other pieces that were shared with us. So thank you for those that caught some of those pieces as well. Our operational plan will look a little bit different going into next year. We have always and traditionally aligned our operational plan and categorized it based on Cognia's standards. Cognia is our accreditation agency that does an external review. They have updated their standards, so next year the formatting and the categorization of the tasks that we do will look a little bit different. But also for us as a goal is to not only monitor the impact on the results that the board monitors at the strategic plan. That's what the operational plan should be. But we are also hopeful that we're going to be able to add and report out by budget as well, where our dollars are being spent and on what activities to really be able to take a look at the ROI and making sure that we're focusing on the student impact of that piece. So you have that information in your board, and should there be any other, in your packet, and if there are any other questions, myself or other members of cabinet are here and happy to answer.
Thank you for that. Any questions from board members? Robin.
Thank you for the operational report. It was a very aggressive plan, if you will, and I appreciate your work. This is your working document for the year, and I will just say again, thank you. you've been awfully, awfully busy doing the right things to help our kids succeed.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Okay. Our next report this evening is the FEA report. Oh, there's Grant. Welcome, Grant.
I'll have to get back in the habit of figuring out how to work the mic and the podium here. It's been a while. So I want to begin tonight just by saying thank you for the opportunity to deliver an FEA report and to have that as a standing item on your agenda. I hope that that's valuable not only for the FEA but also for members of the board. I'm hopeful that this will be a time that will continue to be a place for you to learn more about the work that we do, but also an opportunity to provide some advocacy as decisions arise at your desks. I'm also hopeful that this will continue to help you be mindful of the perspectives of educators in the decisions that you have to make. That might look like asking questions after the FEA report, or perhaps calling the FEA president into the conversation on future agenda items as a resource, just like there are many other people in this room who can be resources to you as discussions occur. I might not know the answer to your question, but I will certainly seek out the answer and help you connect with voices of educators who do know the answer to that question. So for those who might not be aware, I was recently elected as FEA president, and currently my official title would be president-elect. I was able to pass by President Rieger in the hallway today, and I said, "You're still president for a couple more weeks," and she had a good laugh about that because we had to sift through the constitution of our organization to make sure we understood exactly when that conversion happens. But we're really working in tandem as we have for a long time, and you could certainly reach out to any one of us in these remaining weeks. The stickler for details, the official turnover happens at the last day of school. And so after the school year, then the new president is instated. I informed President Newman that during the summer, I don't intend to have regular updates from the FEA. However, if an agenda item would warrant the voice of educators, I would certainly attend at that point and provide that feedback. And to that end, I would encourage you all to let us know if there's an agenda item that you're aware of that you would anticipate wanting some educator feedback on. Obviously, you have my contact information and you'd be able to reach out apart from this meeting, but if you would like my presence here and wondering if I'm going to attend to deliver the FEA report, certainly just reach out and I'd be glad to connect in that way. Once the school year kicks off, obviously, I and other FEA executive board members will be back here to deliver reports on the work that we're doing as that sort of will kick off and get running. With that all being said, negotiations is in process, and we recently scheduled 7 more meetings with the school board's negotiations team. That would take us through June 21st if we need to use all of those. We're doubling up this week. We doubled up last week, and we'll be doubling up again the first week of June, having 2 meetings in a week. We have complex topics on the table that require complex solutions, and I think I've said at the negotiations meetings, I've definitely said to teachers, if it were easy, we wouldn't be here. If it were easy, we would have solved the issues apart from negotiations, but there's a reason that there's a process to be able to dive deep into some issues and get to some solutions. I have full confidence that we will get there. It feels like a long road trip that we've been on together, and you're maybe finding like my gummy bears in the back seat by now, but we're going to get there. So we look forward to that date of ratification. I say all of that because at some point here, that's going to come across your desk, and I would want to be present as you talk about voting on that, as you all will have to make an up or down vote on the overall contract as well. Dr. Gandhi and members of the cabinet met with President Rieger and myself to discuss issues facing our educators, and that was a good conversation. We were able to talk through some of the issues, so we appreciated that opportunity as well, and I wanted to update the board that had happened. And then Dr. Gandhi and President Newman and I have been in communication about scheduling some meetings for the summer, trying to just think about next year and do some planning around that. So again, thank you for this time to deliver an FEA report, and I would take any questions that you have.
Thanks, Grant. Looking forward to our summer meetings. Any questions or comments from board members for Grant? Greg?
You had mentioned that you had met with Dr. Gandhi and President Newman about issues facing teachers, and you said Kim was there as well. Was that since our last negotiation session, or was that before? And
Dr. Gandhi, you might have to help me out on the timing here. I think it was before, because we met Thursday as the last negotiations?
it's all a blur, but
I know. I believe it was before. I believe it was before. And just for the record, President Newman, it was a cabinet meeting, so yeah, President Newman was not present, not a dereliction of duty by any means.
Other questions from board members? Okay, thank you for being here. Thanks for the report.
Thank you.
Our final report this evening is superintendent report. Dr. Gandhi.
Yeah, not much to share in the superintendent report, just except this being the last board meeting of May. We are excited that we're wrapping up the school year and graduation is right around the corner. So if board members have any questions regarding your roles for graduation, feel free to reach out to Anne Marie or I. We start graduations on Thursday the 1st and then have graduation on Friday the 2nd, and then our comprehensive schools on Sunday the 4th. So look forward to seeing all the board members there.
Thank you. Yes, that's something we all look forward to every year. I will look for approval of our consent agenda. Robin.
I move approval of, the consent agenda with the HR addendum.
Second.
Okay, moved by Robin, seconded by Katie. Any discussion? Okay, motion passes. I'm showing almost 6:30. I'm thinking we'll just take like a 5-minute break, maybe.
President Newman?
Yes.
Point of order.
Yes.
You need a vote on the
Oh,
last
I'm
one.
sorry. Thank you for that. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. I was just planning for a brief break, got ahead of myself. So now let's take about a 5-minute break just to regroup before the business section. Thank you. Okay, that's been about 5 minutes. Thank you all very much. We will move on this evening to the business section of our agenda. The first item this evening is the bond sale. This is at your desk as memo number 116. And this comes to us from Jackie Gapp.
Yes, hi. We do have Ann Willett here from PFM who will go over the results. The bonds were sold today, so hot off the press at your spot would be the results of sale. And in addition, if you so approve, we will proceed with issuing and finalizing the bond sale. So Ann, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Dr. Newman, members of the board, Dr. Gandhi, and Business Manager Gapp, thanks for having me here tonight. Hopefully you can hear me. I'll try to talk a little bit louder, a little bit closer here. So we conducted the bond sale this morning at 10:30 for the acquisition of the land. It was a little bit of an anomaly. This year, bond rates have been kind of doing a roller coaster. They've been very volatile. And so what we saw happen this morning is a lot of the bidders that typically will bid on their own, they jumped into a syndicate and they all bid together. So we got a 28-member syndicate that submit one bid on the bonds for the district. And so of course we like to look at other bond sales that are happening today just to make sure that you're getting a competitive rate and it's kind of what we're seeing in the market, and it was. So we are very happy about that. It was a little bit interesting the way that it played out, but we're happy with the rate that we received, and we think that it was a competitive rate, so that's great. Are there any questions for me at this point?
Thank you. Questions from board members? Seth?
I'm not hearing any questions, so I'd just like to make a motion that the board adopt the resolution authorizing and establishing the terms of limited tax school building bond series 2023.
Second. Okay, motion on the floor by Seth, seconded by Nikki. Any discussion or questions for the presenters? Okay, Anne-Marie, I'll have you call the roll. Thank you.
Day.
Yes.
Gullickson.
Yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Berkland.
Yes.
Christensen.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes, motion passes. Our second item this evening is the board outside liaison assignment review. This is actually not at your desk. Sorry, there's no action to be taken on this. This is one of these just for your information only. It was linked to you digitally, but as part of the annual work of the board that's specified in GP 8E, board members are to review our outside liaison assignments that are appointed each school year, and each of you did that, so thank you for that. We reviewed all the comments of our opinions of the outside liaisons for 2022-2023 school year. I don't know if anyone has comments or questions. Yes, Robin.
So what next? Because there are a lot of city committees, if you will, they're restructuring. So what is the next step? Because we're written to a lot of city charter. Does this go to governance?
It can, if there's a specific.
I have a
Sure.
question or comment too
Yeah.
about this too, because and after the homework assignment, I had a meeting with the Native American Commission, which is my liaison assignment, and they voted to adopt a change to their bylaws that make still a requirement for myself and a city commissioner, or not myself, but a board member, sorry, and a city commissioner to be on that commission, but will no longer be a voting member, right? So basically the need to attend meetings is not there. I've spoken to Caitlin about what we kind of do next, or what they would need from us. And so maybe after I have that meeting, that's something that maybe I can suggest to governance or something like that to see what we do moving forward, because it is in their bylaws that we do have a member on that commission. It's just no longer a voting member. So I guess I'm trying to think of ways that assignment can still do good work for our students and our Native American students without being the voting member. So, well, I guess I'll have further conversations with her, and maybe we'll have ideas to bring to governance on that one, so.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. I mean, within this document, we asked, is the presence from school board needed and or relevant? Do you recommend this liaison assignment continuing? And then the final question was, to your point, Robin, are there any new outside liaison assignments we should consider? So yeah, I think governance will review all of our answers, and if there's a need to reassign or come up with new ones, we'll certainly do that. Did you have something?
No, I just, and I would like, and I know that it's unfortunate that I had that meeting after after this report was due, because I would have had much more to say in it. But there is an education subcommittee in the Native American Commission, and so one of the thoughts that I had and that I could speak about with Caitlin is, or even Whitney too, the chair, is we have a liaison assignment to all of our schools, but could, in conjunction to being the liaison to the Native American Commission, could that person also have a liaison assignment to the Indian Ed Department, so that there's some talk of what can be done for students both at the district level and at the city level, so.
All good ideas. No, I appreciate it. Katie, or did you have a comment?
I was just going to ask Seth, so this Fargo School Board member is no longer a voting member. Does that apply to the city commissioner position? Okay, I was curious. Thank you.
Robin.
One closing comment. I think we're kind of on hold until the city, I know they're going through a strategic planning process with all their committees, and so we're kind of have to wait. It seems to me like Community Development Committee might fold, and they're working on their purpose. So I know that the board makes assignments in July at a reorg meeting, but I think we need to stay flexible and nimble and see what they say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It happened last year with the Board of Health, where we assigned someone and then they voted to no longer have a school board member as well. So I think we can flex as needed. So thank you guys for that. Are there any other comments about outside liaison? Nemo?
Based on what you just said, what she said is true. So you definitely need to be able to apply for that position or to be in that committees.
Mhm.
So just like I did, I reapplied with it again and had almost got me cut, but I guess there were really a strong voice, in our communities within our city commissioner. They're like, nope, we need to put back 9 boards. So that's how I was able to get back in, because they feel like I had a strong applicant.
Mhm. Okay, as I said, there's no action or no vote for that this evening, so we will move on to our board reports, committee liaison and correspondent reports. Let's start with you this evening, Katie.
Sure. So since our last meeting, I sat in on a negotiations committee meeting, and then I also sat and observed the actual negotiation session. I also, on Friday of last week, I think it was, I went with Explorer Academy to the NDSU Equine Center. They had a year-long partnership with Bison Strides, and it was a partnership where the kids and the horses wrote letters back and forth to each other. It was really cute. I saw some of the letters, and one of the letters asked a horse if he pooped Jell-O, and I thought that was really funny. And I am sure it was a great way for the kid to practice, spelling and reading and question writing. I'm not sure what the horse responded. But the kids seemed to really love it, because it was really good practice with social interaction and skills and asking and answering questions. And then at the end of the year, they actually get to go to the equine center, and then they get to groom the horses, and they do a little ride. It's like a simulation, but I think in the future they're going to actually ride the real horses. I think the horses they had there that day were kind of old. But it was really amazing, because the NDSU people that were helping, they would ask the students, how can you tell when the horse is paying attention? So you look at their eyes or their ears, and how can you make them go, and how do you make them stop? So there was just all this amazing bodily attention to the kids when you're standing next to such a big, beautiful animal. I'm also a little terrified of horses. I feel like they can sense my fear. So I feel like if the students could do it, I could do it. So some of them helped me touch the horse. So it's cool. And then I also spent most of a school day at South High observing CTE classes, which was so cool just to see all these different hands-on activities. I sat in on a management class where they had a discussion about ethics and AI, and it was actually really insightful. And the kids, I mean, they expressed a lot of valid concerns. Like they were, I think we tend to think of AI as a way for students to cheat. And they were just talking about all these risks that exist if you're running businesses or if you're a teacher and all these different things. That was great. And then I also saw Catalyst being implemented at the high school level. And then yesterday, I think it was, I went to the Fargo North Band concert, which was one of the most fabulous band concerts I've ever seen. It was so incredibly creative. They used paper, they used lights, they used all sorts of different things. So it was really very talented teachers and students. Thanks. That was really long, sorry.
No, thank you for that report. That was great. Greg.
As I'm sure others will mention, negotiations is taking up a pretty significant amount of time. I think this week, including tonight's possible executive session, will be 4 nights in a row for me. Because last night I met with some of the FEA and Jackie to go over some data questions and concerns they had. And then all the other committee meetings and actual negotiations. And then a couple weeks ago we had CEA committee, and I attended the FEA picnic that they threw for their retiring members. That was some fun, and we got the leftovers from that picnic at negotiations the next night. So lots of time with the FEA and negotiations folks. And then I attended health insurance committee last week, and I believe the planning committee will be seeing it at their next meeting, but the health insurance committee has voted to recommend that we have a, I guess, not radically new, but fairly unique system for our health insurance as a result of last year's decision to move to only high deductible plans with HSAs. And the committee plan that was voted on is going to likely come with a fairly significant increased cost to the district, I believe. We can't predict the future and know exactly what the cost is going to be, but the estimate is well over $1 million increase to the district's cost. So that will come to planning and then presumably to the rest of the board, but just putting it on y'all's radars.
Thank you. I got the email today for the special planning committee meeting, so thank you for that. Nikki.
Like others, I will have logged several more negotiations meetings, as I have in the past weeks, both committee and meeting with the FEA. Outside of that, I had the honor of attending the Discovery Band concert on May 11th, and who knew I could play a tuba? So I'm sure there are friends with photos out there. It really was a fun concert because they played it up as though things were going wrong, even though they were expected. That is the most fun I have had at a band concert. So I single-handedly was able to embarrass my daughter and be a part of that concert. So that was a lot of fun. We had CEA May 12th. I also had the honor of attending the annual change of command for the Air Force Junior ROTC, and just so proud of those kids and that program and all that they do. Some seriously high achievers there.
just, the program is great, the kids were great, this is their family, and it was just really a treat to be able to be a part of that. We had governance on May 15th, and then the other highlight was May 17th. I attended the Davies Academic Awards event that morning before school. Very exciting. My son received his high school letter, so I was thrilled with that. But even more so, it was an honor. I told Troy Cody afterwards that whoever the liaison to that building is should really be invited, and I would think that that would likely hold true with the other high schools as well. I just felt such a sense of pride. A lot of times when we sit at this table, we don't hear all the great stuff that's going on in our schools. And I approached Troy and Sean Safransky afterwards, and I had all I could do to stay in my seat and not just bust. They had Teacher of the Year, they had retirements, they just honored all these kids, and it was just, there's just so much good out there that we don't hear when we're here at the table. And so I just want to reassure parents, the community, your kids are in good hands. And from my exposure to work statewide, we really do have a top-notch school district here. Our school system really is. You hear things occasionally that make you question maybe, but there's a lot of pride. We do a lot of good. We have a lot of good people, a lot of good programs. Our teachers are top-notch. Our students like them. For instance, at Davies, they took nominations for Teacher of the Year. The gal who presented or talked about the award, she was on the committee, she said she thinks that every single teacher in that building was nominated. Every single teacher. And that's just one of our schools. So I think there's a lot of good here. So thanks for hearing me out.
Very good, thank you. Robin?
Thank you for your words, Nikki. The question is, could you play the tuba? But the point was to embarrass you, I think, right?
That was the point, and it worked.
It worked. Very good. Thank you for your report. I agree with your heartfelt comments. I attended the Governance Committee, NDSBA Lunch and Learn about the legislative session overview. Also stopped by the Human Rights Commission meeting last week and provided notice of a meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the Fargo Library downtown. You're encouraged to attend. The next Government Affairs Committee meeting is June 6 at 9:30 or 7:30 a.m. The Legislative Management Committee, I don't even think they call themselves the committee, will be meeting on Thursday. And there are a handful of bills that ask us to shall consider, or ask them to shall consider or shall study during the interim session. So I'll give you just a sampling here. Senate Bill 2328 creates a nonpartisan leadership organization to review the K-12 funding formula, transportation, and contract system. Senate Bill 2359 provides for a study for the interim study for the impact of political subdivisions levying special assessments against other political subdivisions. House Concurrent Resolution 3022 talks about clarifying the membership of the State Board of Public Education. And there were several studies, shall considers and shall study rolled into the big funding bill 2284. In that, that talks about the shall consider, that's the key word, consider, composition of State Board of Public Education. There was a shall study, which means it will happen, school choice models, shall consider teacher shortage and military family workforce, shall consider virtual instruction in lieu of storm days. And I believe I've covered them all, but you can watch that live at 10 a.m. on May 25th. I think that's all I have other than saying happy birthday to my seatmate here, Seth Holden.
Excellent, thank you. Birthday person, Seth.
Thank you for the birthday wishes, and my gift to you is I'm going to keep this short because I'm going to make a motion here in a minute. So, just, yeah, negotiations, and then a governance committee meeting since the last time we met. So thank you, and that is it.
Thank you, and thank you to the governance committee. Namal?
Thank you. Just to recap, on May 12th, on Friday, I was able to attend Fargo CAS Public Health, Board of Health, and then just CEA. And then on May 16, I was able to attend the planning committees. 17, volunteer at South High, Visit Madison, ECSE, Event Start, and Adult Learning. May 18, I was able to attend Madison Elementary School Inside and Out Project Celebration. That is really, I don't know, you guys should have came because it's just so incredible. You can see the kid faces put on the whole buildings, and I was just like, oh, they're so cute. And then also too, you can see their personalities on their pictures, and it's just like, oh my God, this whole thing is just so amazing. Also too, it's just gonna be done maybe by the end of the school. I mean, like Friday is the last day, right? I hope so. Maybe not. So yeah, it's still up. So you can definitely go there and check them out. They're just so cute. I attend on May 19. I was able to attend Fargo North Academic Reward Breakfast. So many parents came. They were just so excited to see the kids having rewards. Then also too, there was teacher of the year too was done there. I was just so impressed. I'm like wondering who wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to come see the reward ceremony, seriously. But but anyway, it was just so amazing. And then again, you know, I went to South High and was able to do the volunteer work again. And then in the evening on that day, I was able to go to Davies High School to attend orchestra concert, whereas my baby plays cello. So it was just so fun, and I get to say congratulations to the orchestra teachers. On May 22nd, I was emailed by one of the teachers who's their student was very passionate about becoming an advocate for immigrants to be able to work in their train field in America, because she felt like, you know, her mom, she was a lawyer in Congo, where, you know, where she came from, and then coming here, she did not had, she doesn't go back to school because her credit were not accepted. And I was able to tell her that, you know what, that's just how it goes here when you come back, you know, when you came from, if you become like, if you were a doctor, a nurses, or you have a PhD, when you come over here, it's so hard for you to go to your professions, because they want you to be able to take some courses first, or take some tests before you can become that. And then on May 23rd, which is today, I was able to go to Adult Learning Center. It was so fun, get to see the EL award ceremony, and it's just like the hardworking, oh my God, the star students, naming all of them, like literally like how many of them attended like 150 hour to 100 hour, just honoring all those students coming there. You know, it was just incredible. And I'm really proud of what our community has been doing, especially our Fargo Public School and all those teachers. I'm just so proud of them. And I just want to say thank you to Jan and all the administrations too, who put this event together. Yes, I'm still at Lead Blank Committee, still going on through email. Thank you. It's a long list. I apologize.
Thank you. No apologies necessary. Melissa?
No problem. Yes. So since we last left off on May 12th, I went to the CEA meeting. Then the 17th, negotiations, and then a committee meeting the next day. That evening, I made the hard choice to go to my son's band concert at Ben Franklin, and I think I probably had a better night than everyone else. But then on the 19th, I met with Principal Folden at Clara Barton, and we just kind of talked about some of the challenges that having a split campus presents, and how to try to make both of those campuses feel unified. Then on yesterday, I had the privilege of taking along on a 5th grade field trip to WDAY, where the students got to meet with John Wheeler and then do the green screen and point out the weather, and it was fantastic. And then today, I had my one-on-one with Dr. Gandhi right before our meeting, and that's all I have.
Thank you for that. We will move on to the president's report. Let's see, I earlier this month attended the Davies Theater Soaps, which is the student one-act plays. It's a very cool thing. So senior and junior students actually write one-act plays, and then the younger students try out and audition for them and perform them. And I couldn't believe the talent in our high schools. It was very cool. That was a 2-night event. And then also that same weekend, I attended the Davies Theater. It's called Starries Award, which is like their awards banquet of the year. A lot of cool kids doing a lot of cool things in our school, and it was fun to see them shine on that evening. Also around that same time, I attended the Centennial Living Wax Museum. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to do this, but it's put on by the 5th graders, and it was phenomenal. You walk around and you push a button, and they're dressed in costume. They have a thing behind them, and there's famous athletes, previous presidents, historical figures, and the majority of them have it memorized. So you push this button and they recount everything about these people to you, like a living wax museum. So I highly enjoyed that. I think I embarrassed all of them the best that I could. Love that in our schools. Let's see, my National Council of School Health Committee has met actually twice. We've had governance, as was said, we've had planning. I too attended the NDSBA Brunch and Learn. It was a legislative wrap-up. That was a busy one, packed in. And then recently I had a meeting with a constituent and Tamara Usselman, and Missy Eidson, sort of tangentially. And then I just wanted to take a minute to say I appreciate your comments this evening, Nikki, and others about the positive things in our schools. I'm completing my 3rd year on the board here, and I think it's human nature that people email us when they're dissatisfied or when they disagree with us. And it has just been a breath of fresh air this past few weeks. I'll speak for myself, I have received hundreds of positive emails supporting this board and the work of this district, and that is a first for me in my tenure as a school board member. So I just really wanted to thank our community. It's personally motivated me to do more positive correspondence when good things are happening. It's so nice to hear the good. So thank you, everyone who took the time to send us an email. It doesn't go unread. With that, I'll move on to item number 9, which is possible executive session. Seth.
I move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of negotiation strategy as permitted under North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.1 and 15.1-16-22.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by, roll call. I do that every time. Thank you, Emery.
Gullickson.
Yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Berkland.
Yes.
Christensen. Yes. Clark.
Yes.
Day.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you all. I believe we're staying put. We'll just have the room set up.
Yep.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, welcome back. It is 8:24. We have exited executive session. I will affirm our next regular meeting date, which is June 13th. Without any final comments or business, we will adjourn. Thank you.